Welcome to Giant Radio, where we're all about big ideas in sales and marketing and eye-popping discussions with successful entrepreneurs. Turn up the volume and settle in. Now, here's the founder of Giant Jaxx Media and your host, Paul Hitchcock.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Giant TV. This is Paul Hitchcock. I'm the founder and president of Giant Jaxx Media. We're helping others to grow and nurture their businesses. Fired up for my guest today. I have incredibly successful and dynamic Vistage Chair Daphne Bernicker. Daphne, welcome.
Thank you so much. Delighted to be with you guys today.
Yeah, and I have Ross Hartmann, who is the founder of Kiingo AI, all about artificial intelligence, how businesses are using it. And we're going to jump right into this very hot topic. It's just blowing up everywhere. Daphne, I want to start with you on what might be going on with AI in your group, discussions you might be having, what you think about it, and kind of what practice you're building there.
You know, that is such a great question. In our group, I've got members who range from, you know, just really post startup, but very successful, and they're using AI in their business. It's tech for oil and gas exploration, which is interesting. So that's on the one side. So you can sort of tell maybe I might have some roots in Texas. And then on the other side, I've got, you know, all the way up to a public company and also using AI just in all of the things that they do to optimize. So it's a super interesting situation. And we have talked about it a lot, the impact that we're seeing and how things are going to change so much. So I'm very excited to learn more from Ross today.
Yeah, and Daphne, are your members and the people you're talking to, are they using AI now and trying to figure out how to go deeper with it, or are they figuring out where do we even start?
You know, that too is interesting. There's a spectrum. We've talked about it. We've actually had someone come in and speak about AI. Looking forward to having Ross come in and speak because there's always more to learn and grow. I think the first time we had a meeting, it was one of those things where people are like, wow, I didn't even know this stuff existed. Because that's what happened just this quickly, right? All of a sudden, I mean, not for you, Paul, because I know you've been talking to me about it for a while now, and I'm sure for you, Ross, as well. But for the rest of us, it was like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know this was happening. And I've heard it described as, we people are sort of like the horse and carriage right before cars were invented, kind of thing. And so people are grappling with it. Some have jumped, 4 feet in, basically like, yes, we're gonna optimize and working on that. And then there are others who are a little bit in like, yeah, I don't think that's really gonna affect our business, and then there are others who are like, okay, let's see how I can charge forward. And so we're all moving towards, but I think everyone wants to know more about how it will affect business or to forecast into the future, like what that will look like and get ahead of it. I think that's the differentiator.
And it seems like with anything new like that, the way it shakes out is that some people poo-poo it, others jump on it, some are in between. Always seems to be the case. Ross has brought up the fact before, I think it's an interesting comment, is that one of the issues with businesses is it helps to have a champion at the business for AI. I just really glommed onto that comment, Ross, because it just makes so much sense, and probably, Daphne, it's the owner, the CEO is the champion, and they're so busy. And so it's kind of bubblegum and toothpicks trying to figure out AI, but having a champion is key. Do you find that, Daphne, that it's the CEOs and owners who are trying to figure it out?
In my group, that's the way it, that's how it's shown up, because of course our group is educating people and they're sort of thinking beyond and strategizing. So they're the first ones to get the idea. And then it's, how do I take this back to my group? And do I have the right resources within, or do I know how to get the resources that I need outside to give me the advice and the edge? Because really that's the difference between success and failure, I think, is jumping on this AI.
Yeah, and I know you've got incredible people in your group, Daphne. What are the industries you're working with now? And I know you have some seats open. What are you trying to fill there?
So another great question. I've got a number of industries kind of ranging both from trusted advisor, but very, very large companies as well, in the 200 employees type range, to professional services. Sort of, I've got a law practice in there as well, and then I've got a manufacturer that is working on bringing hydrogen powered vehicles to the US. So and getting some great traction there. So it's a big spectrum. I also have a not-for-profit who's jumped on AI in a big way. And in terms of what I'm looking for to fill my seats, I mean, I think really to our group, it's about having people who we enjoy being with, who are going to be focused on sharing and lifting others up, as well as people who've been really excellent in their work and want to do more. Specifically, as I think about it, what my group's value proposition is, deeper insights, powerful shifts, and a better life. And all of that really is about taking everyone's life and their business, whatever that is, from success to really significance. And seeing that in the group so far, since I've been doing this now for a couple of years, is really been so fun to see our members grow and really gain ideas that they would not have had any idea about had we not been in that group, and taking that and really making something of it. So it's really fun. It's a joy, and I'd love to share that with the other right people.
Yep, no, love it. Ross, so let's get into this a bit, get into the weeds a bit on AI, and what do we need to focus on here, and help us out.
Yeah, it's wild. So Daphne was talking about, different companies are in different sort of stages in their relationship with AI. And I do find some folks are like, when I come into a talk, they end with, wow, I didn't know it could do more than kind of making poems and writing songs, right? And so that's our first impression, is that it's a really interesting, helpful, creative tool, but it can go so much further. I mean, it can help with project management and estimation and talent acquisition on the lead side, filtering resumes, responding to folks, creating job descriptions. There's marketing and sales, obviously, but there's tons of applications in document organization, doing takeoffs in construction, a lot of amazing things. And just the rate at which it's progressing is truly the amazing part. So I don't know if you all have seen a couple things. So first of all, Amazon put a $4 billion investment into a company called Anthropic, which has a Claude, which is kind of a competitor to ChatGPT. So billions being poured into this stuff. But then if you saw last week, I believe the announcement was ChatGPT can now see, hear, and speak is how they advertised it. And I got access to its ability to see, essentially. And what that means is you can now upload images to ChatGPT if you have the Pro account, and it will be able to analyze those images and extract information from them. And it's not just like picking out text. You can ask it questions like, where is this? Or how many units are there in this diagram, something like that. And it'll be able to answer those questions. And then you can also speak to it on the app, and then it'll actually speak back to you in a human voice. So I guess the point is the rate at which this is progressing is just incredible.
Yeah, amazing. And you also mentioned before, I thought was incredible, was uploading spreadsheets to GPT-4 and having it manipulate your spreadsheets, which was fascinating to me.
Yeah. So if you do have the Pro version, there's a thing called advanced data analysis, and that allows you to, like you're saying, upload your files essentially. And typically it does do best with Excel spreadsheets when you want to do data analysis. Now, an interesting thing here, and I don't know if we want to get too much into the data and privacy, but by default, what's called training is turned on, meaning any of the data that you put in there is used to train OpenAI's future models. So obviously we tend to want to turn that off so that we can put in proprietary confidential information. But when it comes to advanced data analysis, the thing that allows you to analyze your spreadsheets, you have to have training turned on, meaning that they likely are training on your data. So just worth noting there. But yes, you can upload your spreadsheets and perform analysis on it. So it can extract data insights, do pattern detection, find anomalies, and then between two spreadsheets, it can find common elements or maybe transactions that have gone in this account, out of that account. And then there's just a ton of opportunities when it comes to file management. So you can even move data from one spreadsheet to a PowerPoint or to a Word document. It can create images. It can actually train its own AI models. This is what I like to show in our talks. And so much opportunity here, and we've just barely touched the surface.
Yeah, and Daphne, I can imagine that you mentioned you have a law firm in your group there that Ross mentioning privacy and law firms, it's got to be huge, protecting data, sensitive client data.
Sure. And that certainly is a consideration. How do we best make use of all of the information we have, be, fully update, and also keep our information safe? And the other, and I'm curious to know about that, Ross. And also, forgive my ignorance, but I know ChatGPT basically goes up until, what is it, November of 2021 or something like that. How do you gain more information? How do you get up to date data that you need?
Okay, so your two questions are very interrelated. So I love this. And you're right. So it's September 2021 or January 2022, depending on how you ask ChatGPT. Sometimes it says it has information up to September 2022. Now, how do you keep your data safe? So the first thing you do is you turn off training in your settings, but that's kind of the bare minimum to do, essentially. And the other challenge here is that you have to make sure every employee has that off. And it's also unique to each device. So if they have a computer, a desktop, and they have a laptop, they have to turn it off on both devices, and remember that. Okay, so how do you get to that next level of security? This is essentially where you can deploy the AI on your network. So if you've got Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, we can essentially help you deploy it in such a way that your data doesn't leave the internet, or there's a secure connection to the AI model in a way where they don't train on your data by default on everything. And in a way where you can do spreadsheet analysis and reporting and not have any concerns about training. Now, to your other question, how do we augment the data so that it goes beyond September 2021? Or another question that businesses often have is, how do we get our internal data in there? Because we have data that is nowhere on the internet, and thankfully, but we want it so that we can ask ChatGPT about it. And so this is really where our company focuses on giving companies an AI brain. And this is really where you want to put together an AI brain that can integrate with your organization's data. And so what it does is it exposes, or I guess I should say that it securely connects your data to the AI model. And then it also allows the AI to query your software. So if you have QuickBooks or you have Dynamics, it can pull out reports and data and do insights from there. You have an ERP, a CRM, any sort of software, it can start to extract that information. It can even write its own SQL queries if you have a database. So tons of possibility there for both optimizing privacy and security and augmenting information and kind of opening up your internal information so that the AI can help you in analyzing it.
Do you find that people within organizations are prepared for this? How do you get your staff trained to be able to do all of these things that you're talking about, or to manage the process from internally?
Yeah, so I mean, there's kind of two elements to this, I would say, and one is the buy-in side, and this is where you do want to have that champion, like Paul was mentioning. You want to have someone in your organization who's going to push this initiative forward, make sure it doesn't drop off down the line. But on top of that, you obviously need buy-in from both your leadership team and then also the folks who are doing the tactical work. And part of that is not saying, from what I've seen, it's not saying, here's AI, we're all going to use this now, it's going to help you and make things better. But instead, approach people and say, what do you not like doing in your job? What's repetitive? What's boring? What's frustrating? If you could wave a magic wand and you could automate some portion of your job, or you could have an AI assist you in doing that, and you get to keep the fun things, right? We don't want the AI to automate the things that are fun for us and engaging and creative, just the parts that are boring and repetitive. And so when you approach it from that perspective, yes, folks tend to latch onto it a lot more. So there's the buy-in side, but then there's the technical, how do we actually deploy this in a way where people can use it, right? Now, the great thing about this technology is that it offers the ability to integrate straight into your systems without needing to do any migrations, without needing to do any data massage. It's able to work with you where you are. And then additionally, while training on AI, I highly advise it. I advise folks learn a bit about prompt engineering. that they learn a bit about what hallucinations are and how they can guard against them. It's not, I'll say this, it's not entirely necessary, highly encouraged, but there was a research study that came out from the Boston Consulting Group very recently that they found that those using GPT-4 completed 12.1% more tasks, completed tasks, I think it was 25.2% more efficiently, and had 40% higher quality results. Those are some of the first real factual studies we've had about the result of this technology, and it is amazing.
So how do you sort of get started if you're going from, wow, I've been enlightened and now I know that ChatGPT increases the productivity of my group 14% or whatever. How do you go from that to actually getting started and bringing this into your processes?
Yeah, really good question. So I have a sort of checklist that I give to the groups that I speak in front of, but I'll give you all a piece of that checklist. And one of the first things is to put together an AI use policy. Basically, which tools are you going to use? Which employees are going to use those tools? What data is exposed? What's the ownership of that data? Who can train on that? Okay, so really important, first thing you do. But then secondarily, the next step is to get folks ChatGPT, get them the Plus account so that they can turn off training and just have them use it and start to make sense of it and get familiar. Honestly, the consensus right now is you need typically around 10 hours of working with AI before you really start to get an intuition of how it works and how to get the most out of it. But then if you do want to go to that next level, that's really where you have to tie the AI into your data. And that's something that my company helps organizations with. So, I'm happy to speak to anyone about that. But it basically, you do want to get to that next level where you tie it into your data and you can get into the really advanced workflow automation and really start to tie AI into the ability to do data insights. So first step, AI use policy. Second step, get ChatGPT Pro, turn off training, have people get familiar with it, learn a bit of prompt engineering. And then the third step is integrate it into your data.
Thank you.
Yeah, because Ross, I think about that as you and I have talked about stuff that I'm doing. To Daphne's point, is it a process of identifying individual processes where you want AI to help, and then maybe focus on one or two of those to get started to implement? Because as I've gotten to know you, we started working together, I've identified probably 40 areas already. I'm making a list, 40, but obviously you don't come in and just do all 40 at one time. So is that how you do it? You pick off this task here and then build on it?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so that is another thing that our company does. We typically come in and do an opportunities report, essentially. So we look at your operations, we analyze, what's going on, and we say, okay, what's the complexity to implement AI to solve this task? What's the cost to do it? And then, we typically have the business rate. What's the business value? So if you could have this solved or enhanced with AI, how valuable would that be? And from there, we can start to analyze, okay, these are the tasks that we really want to tackle. This is the low-hanging fruit. But yes, it does require a bit of self-reflection, looking at what you do, taking a step kind of outside your business and looking at it rather than always working inside of it. And once you can do that, you can typically identify some areas that could most benefit from AI. From there, some companies run a pilot program, essentially, where you deploy AI for those particular tasks, and then you start to measure the ROI. Does this make sense from a quantitative perspective in terms of productivity improvement, but also qualitative? And this, I think, is an understated point, that after folks use AI for a period, they tend to not want it to be taken away. They enjoy using it. And so if you were to deploy it, send out a survey, ask your folks, are they enjoying this? And if you took it away, would they be upset? Chances are, yes. They don't want to go back to doing those menial data tasks, those repetitive tasks. So it does offload some of those things, frees them up to work on things that are more engaging and creative.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because if people try to poo-poo AI and, oh, this is a flash in the pan, I'm just noticing all the apps that I work with, Trello for workflow, Calendly for calendaring, and even the dashboard we use for lead generation. Everybody is embedding AI right now. And I'm getting emails from all these apps. Hey, be the first one to check out our new AI thing. So it is just spreading like wildfire on all the tools that I'm using.
I mean, people do often ask me, like, is this sort of an NFT situation? Is this a Bitcoin thing that might come crashing down? And I think, Paul, to your point, this is not something that has value down the line. It's not something where we're later going to see some revolution that promises to be amazing for us. It's something that has value today, is already being integrated today. It's something you can use today and get value today. And just from the sheer amount of money that Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, etc., are putting into this, they're going to will this into existence. There is no doubt.
Yeah. And Daphne, Ross and I, we've been talking about and putting out is how chairs, someone, like you can use AI in your own practice, and solopreneurs who has a small business, small practice, it's a big deal. So we're going to have content around that too.
Yeah, I think this is super important. One of the things you mentioned, Paul, is the idea of a better quality of life. And I think people are oftentimes a bit scared of how is this going to affect my job or my situation. And so there can be some resistance from the top, maybe, and certainly some resistance further down. But the idea of what your approach of kind of getting in, doing an analysis, and then starting small and letting people see, hey, my life has actually changed for the better, is a great way to proceed forward. And I can think within my very diverse group of members, each of them could benefit from having an audit, essentially, and a proposal. So that's a super interesting idea. I'm curious to know, is this something that you do occasionally for companies? Is this something you might be willing to have some conversations around?
Yeah, we absolutely do that. We do that all the time in different industries.
Mm-hmm.
Every industry is obviously unique. They've all got their special operations, but then every business also has that commonality, those things they need to keep running: accounting, marketing, sales, standard operations. And so, yeah, like you're saying, almost, I have not yet seen maybe I'm a little biased, but I have not yet seen a company who can't significantly benefit from integrating AI in some way. And some of those things are low-hanging fruit, where they can just start using GPT-4, get a little bit of training, and start seeing improvements right away.
Okay, that's very interesting. Just thinking about, hey, here are some ways that we've seen it showing up with our companies that we work with. Might you want to have a conversation? So I'd love to ponder that with you and maybe have some conversations around offering that to some people if you're willing.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah, okay, great discussion. Yeah, we could talk about this forever. I just want to thank both of you for being here, and for everybody who's watching this around this video, wherever you're watching it, because we stream it everywhere, is the contact information for Daphne and Ross. Get connected to them. They're both doing great things. Thank you both. We'll talk to you real soon.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks so much. Appreciate you. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.